Okay, guys, let's talk about the 2023 film Knock at the Cabin. So this is M Night's latest film. It is based on a book called The Cabin at the End of the World, written by Paul G Tremblay. So the general premise here is a family and their daughter, two husbands and their daughter, are renting a cabin in the middle of the woods on vacation. And these four strangers come and they're like, hey, we've got basically this horrible proposal for you. Like the world is ending. You have to do this thing. It's going to be a terrible choice, but you have to do it. Otherwise, everybody on planet Earth will die. This is starring Dave Bautista, Jonathan Groff, Ben Aldridge, and Kristen Cui. It is important to note that the ending for this is different than the ending of the book. So if you read Cabin at the End of the World, the ending is a bit different in the movie. That being said, it's fine. It's on the better side of M. Night, of his work. It's a little bit more consistent all the way through, where it doesn't just kind of like fall apart in the end. You're like, all right, that's ridiculous. He actually gets a pretty competent story from start to finish. Look, Dave Bautista, who is kind of the lead of this, as this guy Leonard, who is kind of the head of these four people who show up, he's actually pretty good. Like, this is actually a pretty good performance from Dave Bautista. I like Dave Bautista. I kind of root for him. I like seeing his career as it's gone over the last number of years. He does a pretty good job with what he's given. Jonathan Groff, who plays the character Eric, who's one of the fathers, and Ben Aldridge, who's the other father, they both put in, I think, pretty good performances. Jonathan Groff, who you may know as he played King George III in Hamilton, originally on Broadway, but most people would probably know him from he's one of the co-leads in Mindhunter, or the lead in Mindhunter on Netflix. He puts in a hell of a performance. I thought he was actually really good. He kind of elevates the material a bit. Ben Aldridge does a pretty good job as well. He's the sort of hyper logical person in the movie, kind of like he's a bit of the audience of like, yeah, this sounds like a bunch of BS that you're telling me, and I'm not buying it. And he's kind of pushing back against that the whole time, where Jonathan Groff's character Eric is more willing to kind of listen to what's happening, right? For different motivations they both have, but they're basically trying to protect their daughter, Wen, played by Kristen Cui. It is an interesting story. I kind of want to read the book after finding out the differences between the endings, just to see how it's handled. But all in all, the performances, also in this is Nikki Amuka-Bird, Abby Quinn, and Rupert Grint. Obviously, you know Rupert Grint from the Harry Potter movies, Ron Weasley, who are they round out the other members of this sort of group of people, saying, oh, you have to save the world type of thing. There is, it's not really scary as much as it has this sort of kind of thriller-esque feel to it. Like, is what they're telling you real? Is it not real? Are they making it up? Because there's, there are questions about that and everything else. And, where does everybody kind of stand in their sort of genuineness, right? But at the end of the day, it's fine. It seems like a pretty interesting premise as it goes. But I think it feels more like this could have gone directly to streaming. It didn't really need to be a movie in theaters necessarily. It's an hour and 40 minutes, which is about as long as you really need to be in this environment. It's a bottle film, so there's not that many people in it. But it feels like, okay, this could have been like solid, like, hey, this is on Netflix or an HBO Max movie, and you'd be like, all right, I enjoyed that. It is what it is. So I give it a 3 out of 5. It's a little bit better than mediocre, but nothing I would be like raging to tell everybody you gotta see. It's best to go in, if you haven't read the book or you don't know the ending, it's best to go in without knowing anything and just kind of just going off the premise of, hey, you gotta save the world kind of thing. And I think that's enough. But again, it's definitely more on the end of M. Night's career of like Split more than Glass, right? Which I thought Glass was just a disaster. But Split was pretty good, right? Like, not amazing, but pretty good. More of this from M. Night I'd like to see. Obviously, him adapting other people's work, I think is working a little bit better for him than trying to sort of do original stories. But Knock at the Cabin, not bad, not worth rushing out to see, but check it out when it hits streaming, and we'll see you guys next time.